Hey everyone, it's Jen with two N's. I use she, her pronouns, and I am here to talk about the books that I hope to get through in the month of February. So I have 7 or 8 that I'll be hoping to read through this month, so I just wanted to go through what they are and let me know in the comments if you also want to read any of these or if you already have. So this month I'm reading most of them off of my unread shelf, and I decided to read the books that I either won in giveaways or that a couple of people just gave me. So yeah, I'm hoping to make a nice little dent in my unread shelf this month so that way I can get through a lot of those books. The first one isn't part of that. It's off my unread shelf. Well, okay, this one is confusing. I don't really know what to categorize it as. I pre-ordered it last year, but it didn't come out until this month. But since I bought it last year, I'm not counting it as bought for this year. So this is just a book I want to read. I don't think it has any specific category that I've talked about. But this one is Angie Thomas's new book, Concrete Rose. And this one is kind of like a prequel to The Hate U Give, which I absolutely loved that book so very much. And the movie was fantastic. I feel like from what I remember of the movie, I think that it was one of the few movies that followed the book really closely. So I'm really excited to read this, Concrete Rose. This looks at the dad, Maverick, and his life and what he was like as a kid and how he grew up in his teens. And so I'm super duper excited to read this one. This is I don't really pre-order books, and I've never really done it before, and I pre-ordered this one from my local bookstore. And so I'm super stoked. So there's that one. Another one that I'm hoping to get through is one that I bought last year, and this is The Ballad of Songbird and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. I don't know when this one came out. I think sometime last year. But this one is also a prequel, but this one is a prequel to the Hunger Games series. And this one looks at Snow's life, the bad president guy in the Hunger Games sequel, and what he was like as a kid and what things were like before Katniss was born, and just the whole world. And so I'm super also excited just to see what things were like and kind of why Snow is the way he is and what things were like that led up to the Hunger Games being created and kind of how those first games happened. So very excited for this one. I've heard mixed reviews about this one. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. I haven't really heard anything about this one, but then my husband, when he saw I was reading it, he had heard mixed reviews, like some of the ones saying that if it wasn't written, it wouldn't have made that, it wouldn't be a bad thing kind of a thing. I thought it was bad, but that I guess some folks just didn't think that it added a lot to the series. So we'll see. I'm excited to read it and to see what happens. I enjoyed the Hunger Games series a lot. And this is a thick one. I feel like this one is bigger than each of the individual books in this series because even the font is smaller and doesn't really have very big margins. So there's a lot of story in this one. So that's another book I'm hoping to read. And now these next two that I'll be talking through are off my unread shelf. And these are 4 books that I got, I think, over the last year, if not year and a half, from people, either that I won through giveaways, or there's 2 of them that somebody reached out to me and asked if I wanted to read them, and they've just been sitting on my shelf for way too long. So I'm hoping to get through these ones that I'll be talking about next, especially just because people gave them to me, so I want to be able to read them and tell them what I think. So the first one that I hope to read is one I can't remember if I won it as a giveaway or if the author reached out to see if I wanted to read it. Either way, it was given to me, and this one is The Tailor of Riga. I hope that I pronounced that correctly. A Family Saga of Dubious Veracity by Jonathan Harries. And this one, when I received it, also came with a pretty cool t-shirt and a map kind of a thing where you can write down your family's genealogy on it, because Jonathan's books, have a lot to do with family history. I don't believe that it's his own family history, but he just focuses on his character Roger Storm and his family. And so this one, it looks like Roger focuses on saving wildlife from poachers, traffickers, and trophy hunters. So it's a pretty cool looks like, I think it's going to be really interesting. And the t-shirt that I got too is also about, I can't remember what it said, but it had, I think, a rhinoceros on it and said something about saving wildlife. So that seems to be a huge passion of his, is saving animals from trophy hunters. So I also really, really appreciate that about the author. So I'm looking forward to reading this and learning more about Roger Storm's family life. Exciting. Also, I noticed a theme. I didn't realize this before, but the first 3 books are all about like history and like people's families and why things are the way they are. So that's pretty cool. So that's that one. The next book that I'm hoping to get through is The End of the Beginning Machine. And I really don't know anything about this book. This was another one that the author reached out to see if I wanted to read it and to talk about it. And again, it's been sitting on my shelf for way too long. But it's super short. It's only maybe 50 pages, so it's a pretty short book. And he also sent it with a sticker of the title of the book, Machine. So this will be a surprise read when I get to finally read it. So that's really exciting. The next book is one that I was able to win through a giveaway, and it's called I Have Something to Tell You by Natalie Appleton. And this one is a memoir, so Natalie's own memoir. And I really like sometimes you get books and the covers are just really nice. This one is really nice. It's a soft cover book, but yet it's created like a hardcover dust flap. And so that's super friggin' cool. So this is Natalie's memoir, and I keep saying this, but I'm excited to read books. So I'm once again excited to read this one and just to see what Natalie's life was like. So that is this one, I Have Something to Tell You. The next book I also won in a giveaway, and I've been following the author just so that way her book stays in front of me. So it just is kind of just like read me. So I'm finally going to be reading it. It's called Rain City Lights by Marissa Harrison. And this book has so many things that I love about books. So first of all, it's about a serial killer. I love books about serial killers. I don't want to be killed by a serial killer. I don't want people to be killed by serial killers. So it's not why I enjoy them. I just their psychology and just everything about how their brain works is just so fascinating to me. I just want to understand and learn more about why they are the way they are. So anything that sounded really creepy, I apologize if that's creepy. Okay, just gonna stop talking about it. Maybe that will help. So this is about a serial killer who preys on black sex workers in Seattle. So a serial killer whose victims are black sex workers up in Seattle, Washington. And so, yeah, I think this is going to be great. A great book. It also reminds me of that show, I haven't read it, so I guess just the subject matter reminds me of the show, oh my Lanta, it had that redheaded chick. I'm so great at describing movies. But it was in Seattle. Oh, my Lanta. And that one guy from Altered Carbon is in it, the skinny guy. The Killing. Yes, The Killing. Reminds me of that a little bit. So, enough of that little segue. So, another one, Rain City Lights. The first one is Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. This isn't the type of story that I usually read. It was described as being like a kind of like a romance novel. So this woman graduates with her PhD and then goes to Vegas and does something very unlike her, which is get super wasted, drunk, and ends up marrying somebody that they don't really know. So it's kind of like a romance. Seems like it's going to be a rom-com. And while I like some rom-com movies like The Proposal, Ryan Reynolds and Sandra Bullock should make all movies together. All movies. And Betty White has to make a cameo appearance in every single movie. Love that movie. So while I like those kinds of things, I don't normally read those kinds of books. So this is kind of branching off a little bit from what I usually read. But I think it's going to be a good one, which is why I picked it. So I'm excited to read this one. I believe that it also is about an LGBTQ plus couple. I just remember on the descriptors, like when I picked this book, it has like different categories that it fits, and I think that was one of them too. So definitely not something that I used to read. I'm usually just into like fantasy and serial killer books, thrillers and stuff, so this is very different. So it'll be cool to kind of branch out. And this last book very much is in the realm of what I usually read. It's called The Push by Ashley Audrain, I believe is how you pronounce their last name. And I was going to get this book last month, but then I ended up not getting it because other things caught my attention. But then it was all over Bookstagram, and I began to experience all of the FOMO, and it was really hard. That's a very, very strong feeling I get, especially around books. And I'm just like, I could have read that, and I didn't. So this month I made sure to get this book, so I'm super, super excited. It's a thriller, and from what I remember about the description, this one, it has to do with a woman who becomes a mom, and she thinks that something is like off with her, like something just doesn't feel right, kind of like evilly, but nobody believes her because people typically don't believe women. And so it's kind of like, it's just around that realm of, you know, becoming a mom, and then your kid's like evil, and what the hell are you gonna do about it, you know? So also too, I don't know if I ever say this word correctly, but the cover has those like psychology Rorschach pictures, the things where like the ink blots, that's a much easier way of saying it, the ink blots where like it's like people are like, ooh, what image do you see? And then that can tell them more about your mental state, I suppose. Sometimes I kind of think that I should have done psychology instead of social work, but I will never do that. Social work majors, I'm very biased. Much better. But psych, like, you get to learn so much more of the, like, why the brain works, you know? Like, you do a little bit in social work, but I feel like psychology would have gotten more of, like, that technical knowledge that I really wanted, so sometimes I wish I would have done my major and minor that way, of majoring in social work and minoring in psych, but I was talked out of it, which is probably good. Anyways, this is going to be a tangent, but I kind of wish that I would have done it, so now I just get to read about things. So yeah, those are all of the books that I hope to get through this month. I think there were 8. So we'll see what I can get through. It is a shorter month, you know, February is only 28 days. So yeah, we'll see how many I can get through. There is a holiday this month on the 15th, so I have to work part of the day for a thing, but for the rest of the day I get to get off, so that I'll hopefully be able to get some reading done. And we'll see how I do at the end of the month. So again, if you have any thoughts about the books that I talked about, if you read any of them, or you also want to read them, let me know in the comments below what you think. If you think that psych majors are better than social work majors, you know, we can all have differences of opinion. It doesn't mean that we're all right, but, you know, let me know what you think below, and we can talk about that. And if you like to look at pictures of books, you can look me up on my Instagram at read.with.2njen. If you want to subscribe to these videos so you can know when I post things that I rant about stuff, you know, you can hit that button too. So yeah, that's it. And I will see you next time. Have a good day.